Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, the mic is now active. So our family should be able to hear now everything that's being said here. Um, can you all hear now, family, on the panel, on the computer? Can y'all hear the sound now?
Islam, yes, sir.
Okay, gratitude. Gratitude. And pardon self, family, for that technical difficulty there. And also, we give honors to all of those who gave us some insight into the matter. You know, praise be to Allah, Islam is without excuse. All right. So yeah, like we were saying, we got a grand drawing to bring on the manifest. You know, be sure to hit the like, share, and subscribe. You know, let the people know that we here teaching, and so that everybody can get a grand drawing off of what we bring forth. You know, our subject title is coming out of our new chapter, and our new chapter is dealing with the council of the seven of the world. And we drawing from the theme, the wheel of time has turned once more. The wheel of time has turned once more, but yet the main ayat that we are coming from is ayat 10. In reference to this, 9 is the one that precedes ayat 10. You know, and in ayat 9, we are spoken of in reference to dealing with the sage Mingsti. And Mingsti was actually from India. We know that India has kept, you know, the most ancient part and self record of time that we have known of up to date as far as dealing with what we have found in numbers, you know, as far as making a calendar all the way up. But we do know that in ancient Kemet, you know, there was an alluding to in reference to dealing with the time when they mentioned the term the bark of the millions of years and Zep Tepi. You know, however, up into this particular period where we demonstrating the Moorish degree of that coming from our Egyptian adept degrees, we hadn't seen, you know, a Romanized version of what the calendar of Zep Tepi looked like. We just know that is basically time that's so ancient that it supersedes time when we say Zep Tepi. But in India, the oldest record that they have kept, you know, as far as dealing with their literature, is 311 trillion years. You know, and this represents a combination of many what they call yuga cycles. You know, and these yuga cycles, you know, come in degrees of like 400, I want to say 30 some odd thousand years. You know, we can say even years, but you know, they vary in these different cycles, you know, based upon your knowledge of the yuga. If you go into the math of them, they all end up going back to 311 trillion years. We say time never was when man was not. You know, that is closer to the expression of what Zep Tepi is meant to be in ancient Kemet. You know, time never was when man was not, because we don't limit ourselves by time. And even though we measure time in our own way, we measure time by cycle ages. In the West, the European has taught our people, you know, to measure time, you know, by a false device that they call a clock. But the true clock is the celestial clock. And the false or the imitation version of the clock is actually based upon the movements of the heavens, movements that take place within the heavens. You know, the motions as it relates to planetary alignment, you know, celestial houses, paradigm shifts, and so forth and so on. You see? So when we say the wheel of time has turned once more, we are referring more to a grander degree of unfoldment, because when this wheel of time, turns, or the movement or the motion is made, it causes a change based upon planetary influences, based upon the alignment, based upon the different motions, so to speak, or the angles at which, these alignments cause, the planets to sit at a distance, whether being closer to a particular aspect to influence us or further away, and it is through these events, astrological, dealing with astrologics, or astronomical, or just dealing with the principles of cosmology in general, that we are able to understand the concept of time in travel, so to speak. And it is the distance between planets, in different astrological principles, that we are able to calculate certain measures, whether it deal with going back into the past or dealing with things that may occur in the future as well. All of these things have, again, from an astrological standpoint, that which also corresponds with mathematics. So this is all dealing with calculations. And around, the different cultures of fallen humanity, there has been a building of calendric calendar, system, so to speak, that people begin to utilize to calculate time as we know it. In ancient Kemet, what they like to call the zodiac now is known as the plane of Dendra, or Unet, as we would call it, as you can see on the screen here. So we are talking about really measuring the distance that divine light travels, as opposed to the light that travels at 186,000 miles per second, dealing with, the physical aspect of things. So our events are more dealing with a theocratic calendric system, as opposed to dealing with, this worldly time calculation, so to speak. Though we can bring about a merger of the two when we have a proper knowledge of the time that we're living in from a divine standpoint. So when we say the wheel of time has turned once more, we are referring to a paradigm shift that has taken place or is taking place. Or if we are forecasting, we will say it will take place. So we're talking about a council of the seven of the world. And those who are familiar with the Moorish paradigm understand that there are seven that came forth in the beginning when the great God Allah breathed forth. And we refer to these as the seven Elohim. They are those who are the timekeepers, of the gateways, so to speak. And then you have those, and I'm talking about the gateways of heaven. Then you have those seven sages that are on the plane of things made manifest, that corresponded with those seven Elohim, the seven eyes of Allah. And these, are known as the seven sages of all ages. They have the record of the book of Allah's registry of remembrance, by virtue of being the heirs, or the heir apparent, so to speak, of those seven celestial that was breathed forth. In other words, there's an expression where the seven takes on a garb of flesh, the seven Elohim, and the sages become the embodiment of that spirit. So though they may be on different sides of the planets, though they may be on different time in relation to dealing with what we perceive to be time, their own time and in the right time, from a divine standpoint, and the work that they have been called to do correspond with each other. So one sage may be in China, as we are told. One sage may be in India, as we are told. One sage may be in Persia, Assyria, Greece, Egypt. You know, one may be in Israel, but nevertheless, the work that these sages do are in harmony. Nevertheless, this is the way that scientists operates. We give honor to our beloved brother Elijah Poole Bay, aka Elijah Muhammad, because in his teaching that he learned from the prophet in relation to dealing with these cycle ages, because surely Noble Drew Ali spoke about these things. As we can see in our Circle 7, we're reading about it now before our brother became who he was. But our brother referred to 7 scientists being on the manifest. And he said it would take 7 to get the job done, basically. He spoke on this in the theology of time. So our brother was in harmony, understanding that he had a little work to do, which I always say was to keep the door open. Everything that took place between, the departure of our prophet in 1929, all the way up into this era in time, has its place. So we don't try to take nothing away from any of our people in between that time in the year 2000 when we were told we were coming to our own. So everything that happened when it came to movements, teaching what they taught, doing what they did, all of this was a part of the necessary process of preparing us to get to the point of where we are now. And even our brother Elijah Poole Bay understood that, because he said that our people, the reason he was laying a foundation that he would land was, to build government. And I always say it all the time, just like our Moorish family in the temple, dropped the ball by not corresponding to what the prophet said about us building government. Some of our NOI family did the same. Some of our Hebrew Israelite family did the same. Some of our Nuwabian family and 5% and, all these different other groups did the same. Because all of them come from one lineage at the end of the day. And they can all be traced back to the prophet. We don't say that to try to belittle nobody. We just telling the truth. And if someone is of integrity, they can accept that without an argument, and not look down upon what Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought as a result of the ways that they observe, the way the Moors are behaving today. Because the way that the Moors have been behaving today does not dim the light of what Prophet Noble Drew Ali taught, no more than, it dims the light, of any of the other leaders of these groups that we speaking of, because those people that follow those teachings choose not to follow what they teachers say. We have Orthodox Muslims that don't follow Prophet Muhammad as they should. We have Hebrew Israelites that don't follow the Torah as they should, or Yehoshua as they should. We have Christians that don't follow Yehoshua as they should. We have those who are the teachings of Catholicism, which is another branch of Christianity that has the most influence over Christianity, that does not follow the teachings as they should. And this is why they are all waiting for the coming of a Messiah. This is why they are all waiting for the coming of a rightly guided one, a Mahdi. This is why we have our people, that are waiting on another coming of Krishna amongst the people of India, or those who are of China that waits upon that enlightened Buddha, another Confucian master, so to speak. Everybody is waiting for somebody to come back, and rectify the situation, or correct, so to speak, a wrong that has been done are constantly demonstrated by the masses. So if this is the case, then no one is in the position, to really point the finger at the other, because everybody is in error. In fact, outside of these bodies, the whole world has went astray. And we can see, these things unfolding at a rapid pace. We can see prophecies being fulfilled. We can see many people falling to the wayside in disbelief, and so forth and so on. So this is why there were postulates, the 7 postulates that correspond to the 7 sages of the ages and the 7 Elohim that were breathed forth in the beginning. This is why it was necessary that we establish a code of law to where our postulates become the embodiment of that which come from the 7 sages of the ages and the 7 Elohim and so forth and so on. So this is at the level of 3 degrees of unfoldment. From the macrocosmic standpoint, cosmology as we know it, the 7 that are working in the heavens, that have been there since the beginning. And then we look at their personification and manifestation in the 7 sages that came throughout the ages, that are not limited to time. They are ever present from the past, present, and the future, so to speak. In the past, present, and future, they are ever present in each one of these time capsules. And how this is possible is because after generation begins to fold and generation unfold and time unfold, there's always a milestone in the journey of the race. And that milestone will always bring forth the embodiment of that 7, that would demonstrate on this plane to carry the measure further than those who came before them. And this has become an embodiment within our Moorish American government, and the reason why we have 7 postulates, a part of each consulate. But yet before there are 7 postulates in each consulate, that's per 50 states. There are 7 that governs the whole, that are under the direct influence and teaching of the supreme ruler, our holy prophet that's still working from the plane of soul. So it is through our holy prophet that we derive our power and authority. But that power comes from the great God Allah. And it is through the grand body, which is a representation of the prophet, that we as a people derive our power and authority, if we understand that we are all working in harmony. So our consulate should reflect the work of, the grand body as a whole. And the grand body as a whole, has a power that is delegated from Act 1, which all of us, are inclusive in this special matter. So I wanted to say that. But this particular Moorish perspectives, having a lot to do with time, the wheel of time turning once more, as we can see, it's scrolling across on our banner. The wheel of time has turned once more, and the race is on a higher plane of thought. So this is the effect of time. The race being on a higher plane of thought than they were, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 100 years ago, 700 years ago, 2100 years ago. And if we want to go into the multiplicity of that by 12, we can say 25,200 years ago. And if we want to keep going, we can say 50,000 years ago. And if we want to go back further than that, we can say 100,000 years ago. And if we want to go back further than that, then we can go back into the time where we spoke of the Yuga cycles. We can go back 311 trillion years ago. We can go back to time when time never was. We can go back to Zep Tepi. But nevertheless, in every point or period of time where there's a milestone in the journey of the race, there's a time where that race ascends to a higher plane of thought. Islam. And that's what we're talking about. And that does not come, without the symbolism, that also ushers in that special thought as an ensign that express the fact that signs and symbols are for conscious mind in men and women of understanding. So at that same token, we know that cherubim and seraphim is at work. And it is these who have woven a celestial cloth and have placed it in our hand, the hand being symbolic to the mind, so that we may be able to make for men new garbs. So it's not enough, to fly our banners, our grand national seal, our grand national emblem, our national flag, and just look at it in admiration and say, man, that sure look good. That's a beautiful banner. It's our banner. It's not enough to say that. We have to understand the reason, why we embody these special things. We are told in our chapter that at the first of every age, and this has been since time, had begun. This is the first motion of time that took place within the heavens. And through that special motion, it has spawned various, different cultures into the manifest based upon these cycles. But at the first of every age, these sages meet to note the course of nations, people, tribes, and tongues. Right? To note how far towards justice and love the race is gone. And then we are told again to formulate the code of law and religious postulates and plans of rule best suited to the common age. So what they are doing during their age, they are laying a foundation for those who come behind them. This is for the same reason that is mentioned in the Grand Quran. That it's not a case to where we are to put prophets or divine warners in opposition to each other. Because what they have is a confirmation of that in which you may have, and that of those who came before you, as well as those who are to come after you. See, all of this is taken into consideration. And if we were thinking along this realm of thought, then we wouldn't be so divisive in our thoughts right now. Because those who are present will understand what they have lands or stands upon the shoulders of those who came before them. And those who will come after them will also be standing upon our shoulders, or within the gap of, a time where there's a milestone in the journey of the race. We are the present milestone in this journey of the race, in the journey of our race. But we are to note the course of those who come after us. And a lot of us have lost this thought, and this is why we are finding it hard to accomplish anything, because of our self-centered mindset of thinking that everything is all about us. So we have no thought to where we reflect upon the past to learn from the mistakes of those who came before us and utilize that knowledge to better prepare ourselves so that we may lay a foundation for those who come after us. We are only caught in this particular time capsule that we call the present. And we are only becoming slaves to our present concern, because that's all we can see. And based upon that, we are making rash decisions that affect the generations to come. And this is where the grand degree of correction needs to come into play at. So we understand that there was a sage that came from different sides of the world, and as one age had passed, another age had come. In other words, time waits for no man. Even though time never was, time, as long as you in this physical body, does not wait for you to get your act together. And in fact, there's been a hadith, that has been quoted, and we don't demonize them. We just deal with the hadith al-Qudsi as they deal with time. And this is a hadith al-Qudsi, a holy hadith, because Allah says, that, and to paraphrase, he don't like the way that man misuses time. Allah is the time. Abdar is what they call it. Has there not been over man a long period of time when he was nothing, not even nothing? It say that in the Grand Quran. In other words, it was a time this physical body didn't exist. But the spirit man was on the manifest. And that was a long period, prior to the manifestation of this physical body. You see? So the problem is our people are more into competition and trying to outdo each other, trying to outrule each other, based upon what they think they know. And half of our people think because they have a knowledge of a thing that automatically qualify them to be in a position of leadership, and they spend their lives trying to overthrow each other more than they are trying to work toward uplifting fallen humanity. Rather than uplift fallen humanity, they want to fight over worldly titles. They want to fight over worldly positions. None of these things will you take to the grave, or beyond the grave with you when you transcend from a spiritual aspect. You see? And as when we figure that out and learn how to get in where we fit in and accept where the great God Allah has allotted us to be at the time and do the work, as honorable as you would as if you had a grandiose title. If you're a divine minister, carry that title like it's the greatest title in the world. Like you Sheikh Al-Akbar. You see, if you are a consul general, you honor that title as if it is the greatest and only title in the world, because all of these titles represent different functions, because it's necessary to have, stations in order to function as a nation. But it's the great God Allah that has appointed you to be where you are. So if you can't let the peace be still and you have so much king ambition to where you want to overthrow your brother and your sister, and you are not fit for rulership. That's right, I said it. I don't say that to be arrogant. Everybody ain't cut out to be on the front line. They want to sit in a seat just to hold the title or be known. That's what we see going on in the present administration of the United States. People want to hold titles that they are not qualified to hold. Want to be in leadership position where they ain't cut out to be a leader. And we ain't talking about, based upon, again, the ego. We are saying that if they were put in that position, most of them will crumble under pressure. If they were given that special assignment, most of them will sell their people out because they are weak and they ain't cut out for the job. If they were given that special responsibility, then they will shirk their duty. If they were given that special responsibility, they will crumble under the pressure of those that are in the ranks, that are waging war against them secretly and openly. Many of them wouldn't know how to handle that. Many of them wouldn't know how to deal with that because they're not built for that. And we can tell because of the minor responsibility that some of our people have been given, and they haven't been able to uphold themselves in that particular state. So how do you expect to uphold yourself in a greater aspect? Most of them will become burnt out quick. Well, many of us have been on the manifest, some of us 20 years now in this Moorish American government, dealing with, the wayward actions of some of our people who claim to be a part of what we are part of and won't even support their government. You see? But yet and still, we don't rule based upon emotion. We see the chains that our people have that are still attached to them. We don't judge them for that. But that don't mean we don't know where everybody is along the way. See, we can say, that we are here to build the government, but our actions speak louder than words. So be content with what Allah has given you out of your lot and make the best of it. Utilize your talents. Maximize the efficiency of your acts by embracing your purpose. Because there's no one here within the sound of my voice right now that can convince me that you don't have a purpose. And so we have to stop riding on the coattail of the purpose of our Moorish kin, lollygagging, parlaying, and laying back, and not doing anything. The wheel of time is turned once more, and the race is on a higher plane of thought now. So you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to be active and not passive. We as a collective will have to be active and not passive. And at this point, I'm always bringing things from a high intent. But if one is offended by it, it don't even matter to me at this special point. Because I'm not here to tiptoe through no tulips. I'm not here, to come forth, to try to make you feel good. I'm here as your brother, and I'm here to demonstrate what Allah has given me to demonstrate until it's time for me to work with the prophet from the plane of soul. Because we don't have time to continue playing role playing, so to speak. Acting like you a Moorish American model. And that's why we say we ain't here to deal with the practice of Islam. We here to deal with the actions of Islam. So our Islamism is not the same as the politicized, Europeanized definition of what Islamism is. Our Islamism, the Islam, is coming directly from the Arabic as well, where we are dealing with the reality of peace. If your actions does not lead to the reality of peace, then you must be demonstrating the opposite of what's in opposition to peace. Now let that marinate a bit. So as we move on, Moorish kin, and we understand what we are speaking of here, the wheel of time has turned once more. It's time to start thinking on a higher realm of vibration. It's time to come from a level of being a slave, under a slave master state, into being one who is free and one who has become a mastermind that is in control of his vast or her vast estate. One that has come out of a state of subjugation into the state of a magistrate, an executive ruler. And a slave has rulership over nothing. So cherubim and seraphim Cherubim has woven the celestial cloth and placed it in our hands so that we may make for men new gods. Our cherubim was the first example of that. He received that special garb as it was given to him, that celestial cloth, and he placed it in our hands. Now we must do the same for those who come behind us and make for our descendants new garbs. You see, as man unfolds, his God unfolds. And that's why it is that we have a new flag. So for those of our people that are still holding on, to the various banners of our subjugation, such as the flag of Morocco and the United States government, what they like to call Old Glory, those are old garbs. The new garbs are those that we have right now. And we went into many different aspects of speaking on this. This is not just good talk, something to tickle your ear. We are speaking on facts. And you can't trace, what these Europeans have as far as their meaning, back to that of our ancestors outside of what they have stolen of the legacy of it and remix. Because we even have proof of the concept of the stars and stripes. Though it has a different meaning for them in ancient Kemet, it was already on the manifest, but just not as the way that they expressed it. We actually have proof of this and done showed it to our people in the past. We also can say the same about the flag of Morocco and the various different flags. There were many different flags of Morocco that came on the manifest. Some of them had 5-pointed stars, some 6-pointed stars, some scimitars, some nothing on them, some plain white, some green, but they were all called Moroccan flags. There was only one that was actually called a Moorish flag during that time period. And it only represented the two colors, the red and the green, which became that which was adopted later in our flag. The first symbol that was actually placed in any Moroccan flag was a scimitar. And then after the scimitar, a few hundred years ago, when the prophet was on the manifest, the star was added. And then they couldn't fly it until 1856 with the aid of the brother Grand Sheik Frederick Turner L. That was a very close friend and companion of the Prince of Peace, who was acting on an international level and aided and assisted Morocco in gaining their independence, a Moorish American. That work was the precursor under the Moorish Divine and National Movement leading up to the point of where we are right now. And if we understood that man, as he unfolds, his God unfolds, then we will already know. And we will be what we know and not what we have been told. And so most of our people have become slaves of what they have been told, and it becomes a constant conflict for them to be able to accept where we are now along the way, having our grand national seal, grand national emblem, our own national flag, our divine constitution and bylaws, our declaration of proclamation and status of jurisdiction. They still can't comprehend that. They think it's a fairy tale because many don't want to do the work. They steady trying to ride the coattail. I should have said goat tail, of the United States government. Seeing that Prophet Noble Drew Ali saying that one day the European were going to let you down. You're worse than a battered woman. And I don't mean no disrespect to our sisters that's constantly being abused and running back to a man that ain't never been no good to you. That's the way we act as a people. And like I say, we don't use that metaphor to be disrespectful, or don't take it personal, sisters. We just speaking of things that our people can comprehend because that's what we've been dealing with If you've been dealing with it, we've been dealing with it as a whole. If it didn't affect us directly, then it must have affected us as we were young seeds. And that's part of the process as to why we have so much toxic masculinity and toxic femininity that's on the manifest right now. And there has become a gender war that is taking place among us. But now we on a new plane of thought. That new garb represents a new way of thinking. That new garb represents a new mindset. And you can't demonstrate and vibrate on the level of an NBC Negro, black, and colored thought pattern, Ethiopian conditions, and continue to do that, banging your head against the same wall of captivity and expect to come out on the other side whole and intact. Because something is going to seriously be wrong with your ability to comprehend. After all that head banging, you're bound to lose some brain cells. And this is why Prophet Noble Ali said that if he can get us to thinking, then we will save ourselves. He mended the broken wires and connected them to the higher power. There's a power within us that if we exert it at the will of our use, we will be free overnight. And it all has reference and it's relative to what we call more science. Brothers, are you more ish than you are a mere man? Because we know ish means God. Are you more God than a mere man? Sisters, are you more isha than you are a mere woman? In other words, you more goddess than you are a mere woman. I'm placing you both in the balance, weighing you within the scales of Ma'at, truth and right. That way ain't nobody got no excuse. And like I say, I ain't demonstrating this from no judgmental standpoint or a level of superiority. I'm saying it because Allah has showed me my purpose, and my purpose is to be a witness to my people based upon everything it is that the giants who came before me has brought them. It's my duty to support my government and stand upon the shoulders of my grand national chairman. It's my duty to defend Prophet Noble Drew Ali and everything it is that he taught and everything it is he brought. See, I know my purpose. But what about you? Do you know your purpose, Morris King? Or will you go to your demise? Will you go to the grave, without activating your ministry and doing the work that you was called to do? Because until we all find the greatness in our purpose and demonstrate that, we just playing. And like I said, ain't nobody finna convince me that you ain't got no purpose. Your purpose ain't just to sit here, and demonstrate on the conference call. It ain't just to sit here and demonstrate, alone in social media. It ain't just to sit here and receive teachers from master teachers and do nothing. But your purpose is to receive that teaching and become active and come out of a passive state of mind. If that ain't plain, then I don't know what is. A lot of people don't like when I talk plain, because when I get to speaking plain truth, I go to stepping on toes. People they take it personal. But when I go esoteric, then they say, well, that's too much. I can't comprehend that. You see? So, like I say, we're going to give it to the people plain tonight. See, we speak the language of many different ages. So if you're a baby, you're going to get something out of it. If you're middle-aged in your knowledge, you're going to get something out of it. And if you mature in your knowledge, you're going to get something out of it. But take that which is useful and discard that for the moment, that you ain't able to work with yet. It's all right. The truth comes in cycles, because if you don't get it doing this one, then in the next one you may get it. You see? So, there was a drawing that I did, and I'm gonna share my screen real quick, because I actually was intended to go into all of this from the beginning, but the ancestors always take me and utilize me like they want to. And I have a lot of artwork that I have brought forth, to show our people. And you have seen a lot of these things before. But one of the first things that I had to learn how to do is defend my Moorish flag. Since we're talking about, new garbs being created. This is an actual Moorish, expression right here, that is found in relation to dealing with the Moors in Morocco. You see the Moors on camel, moving through the terrain. But on another level, this is just here to place the significance on the manifest to show the artwork that basically sets in stone as it relates to literature, our early presence, prior to being conquered. You see the melanin, in that one. So ain't no deny. We already know that this is definitely original, Mari blood, so to speak. And so what I did is I placed the modern version of this old expression of the flag, with the Shahada in there, La ilaha illallah. That's what that says, that there is no God but Allah, Muhammad and Rasulullah. That's what it said. This says the same thing. This is just the modern version. But this is what the early flags looked like in Morocco. Some of them was plain white without, the Kalima Shahada on it. And then the next one, as far as dealing with the symbol, was the scimitar. A lot of people thought these were scissors. And this is from the point of 1147 to 1073, so to speak, what we're dealing with here. This is one of the Moroccan flag, the first symbol. This is what it really looks like. These are two scimitars that are crossing over each other, which is the first symbol added in the flag, and it's on a red background. Then later on, you find on that same red background, the star comes. In our time, actually during the time of the Prophet. They even had flag with 6-pointed star, red background, and, a 6-pointed star. These were held, most of the time outside of the public, what you would call flags of the people that was in authority at the time, their own personal banners. But nevertheless, they were there. In fact, our people that like to call themselves a part of the Moorish Zionist temple, those who are trying to promote that now, that's the flag they use. But nevertheless, we see a scimitar. The scimitar is in the star. So that has always been a symbol, of the Moors. It came out of a white banner, into a red, into, this. And you also had a green banner, with the scimitar on it. Actually, the green banner, came after the white, to be exact, because it came under the Fatimid dynasty. You got to know your history. So we have showed our people many a times, the various different aspects of the symbol, the scimitar and star. But what we don't know, each expression of the scimitar and star, as we see in this collage of pictures, represent the expression of a different level of the science being demonstrated. For example, the Egyptian Adept Book of Hidden Chambers, where we find this, and if you look at it where it says Kafesh up here, and it talk about the constellation of the scimitar, as y'all heard me talk about, or the great bear, sword, and you can see here out of that book, we pulled an image where, they are showing the Neteru, one where they all have stars, and they have a scimitar in their hand. This is in ancient Kemet. Prior to Noble Drew Ali coming, prior to, anything else that I'm getting ready to show you, this was demonstrated in Kemet. But this had to do more with the constellation. It had to do with the science of the gateway. And in fact, that's why we had it up here, the gate of God, the constellation of Misketi, the great bull, which is also referred to esoterically as Meru, Mera, Mesura. You see, for those who know, Meru, Mount Meru. There's a Mount Meru sacred to Buddhism. There's a Mount Meru sacred to Africa. You see, also sacred to Hinduism. The Indus Kushite Valley civilization. So whether you're dealing with the Indus Kushite Valley or the Meru Kushite Valley of Egypt, you're still dealing with, a reverence. Then you had, like I said, the Mesura, the sons of Ra. You have Mizr, which is the Arabic word for, what we would consider the same as Mesura. Then you have Mazaroth, which is referred to in the Piscean records in the book of Job. Mitzah, Mitzrayim. Esoterically, all of these are symbolic to the same expression. You see, which represents a higher realm of thought. Mount Meru, within you represent your high state of consciousness. Mazaro is corresponding with your highest state of consciousness. Just like you got 12 cranial nerves above your neck, you got 12 constellations within the macrocosm. You see, just as they are, a sacredness of the 12 deities, a Neteru in ancient Kemet. It's the same thing as it corresponds. As it is above, so it is below. As it is within, so it is without. So we have another Kemetic expression here for those who are looking at my screen. You see the leg of the ox with the 7 stars in it, which represents the constellation of Pleiades. Some people like to go into the concept of the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. These also represent cosmic principles. And so then we seen, also, as I showed our people before, about the same thing we quoted about the Sage of Mingsti and the race being on a higher plane of thought. We showed in the silhouette that's behind it the concept of the scimitar and the star as it relates to the Orishas. The scimitar represents the masculine principle on the crown, and the crown that has the star represents the feminine principle in the culture of Orisha. Ash and Asha, which is corresponding with Ish and Isha. So we can see the universality of this. The same symbols. And these are all different aspects of cultural periods, but this represents how the time and the paradigm shift constantly produces a people who knows the sacredness of this symbol, scimitar and star. You see? So we can go into the teachings of the highest initiations, which is known as Aliism. We sent that out to our Moorish kin. And this is dealing with a lot of the teachings of the Zohar, or the Kabbalistic concepts, or Adam Kadman, or Adam the God man, so to speak, or Toon. But that's a whole nother measure. Kemetic as well. So we see also down here, we have a shield, and the shield has a scimitar and star. This is actually a Moorish coat of arms, from the medieval time. The same symbol comes up and represents a symbol of triumph, a symbol of us overcoming and spreading, our particular ways of life across Europe. And then you have also here, the Star of the Magi, which is from the Indus Valley civilization, and it was taken and remixed by the European Indologists. Look up the word Indologists. And they came up with this symbol under their particular measure, and Lepus Levi, tried to adopt it into their coats of magic, the Order of the Golden Dome. But notice that the scimitar is beneath the star here. In order for it to become that which sits above the star, it had to rotate and move in a cycle. And it was our holy prophet showing us that he had raised that scimitar from the bottom of the star to the pinnacle of wisdom. Because basically, that time and that cycle had caused that paradigm shift. So that's why our scimitar is above the star. Even though you got some Moors that tried to come forth with flags with the scimitar beneath the star. You see? But nevertheless, we also seen here the concept of the serpent consuming its tail, as you can look here. And this is Dharmaism. The Amati Padme Hum symbol. The circle, of the serpent consuming its tail. Horapollo, one of the last Egyptian adepts, when he dealt with the hieroglyphics, he talked about this symbol. This is a symbol that is used even by H.P. Blavatsky, the symbol of the serpent consuming its tail. It represents also the concept of Alpha and Omega, beginning and end, cycle. But she got that from master teachers in India, adepts of India. You see? So we see here, I was showing the expression of Sufism. And you can see right here where it talks about, this is actually Ali, why Ali Allah. This would be called the Saif Allah, the sword of Allah, or the sword of Ali, which was given to Muhammad by the angel Jibril. And it was passed on from Muhammad to Ali. Just as our chairman gave those, who have them in their possession, we have a scimitar that was given to us. He passed them down to the faithful. You see? So we see the star here represented, Muhammad, Ali, Fatima, Hassan, and Hussein, which were known as the 5 purified ones. So that's the concept of scimitar and star as it relates to even Prophet Muhammad. So we can see the symbolism of this concept even in esoteric mysticism, which I mentioned, like that which came through the teachings of a lot of this occultism. They tried to adopt the same symbol which deal with the tetragrammaton. The executive ruler, adept. You see? And so it ain't strange when our prophet brought it back, he brought it back in its purest form. And there have been many that wanted to debate, the prophet having this symbol in the beginning. But when we see, this is actually a clip of the prophet sitting there at the after dealing with the Pan American Conference, where he has the American flag showing it in adversity to the Moorish flag. And he's sitting there with the Panama on his head, coming from it. We even have record, of him going on that particular trip. For those who doubted, there was a lot of time people doubted it. And then I brought it forth, and once I brought the information forth showing that Kirkman Bay was present, and the prophet, then we see it was some validity to what was said. But nevertheless, if you look closely, I have showed our people for time and time that this is a spinning jump ring. For those who didn't believe that something was on the other side. If it was just a one-sided emblem, then it wouldn't have a spinning jump ring on it. So if the circle 7 is on one side, then what's on the other side of the circle 7? The scimitar and the star. You see? And we have been consistent, even with our present Egyptian adept jewels that we have brought forth, specifically, for Act 1, this one that I'm showing right here. Act 1 is the only one that had this particular demonstration here. We have another expression that our scribes have received as well, but this particular setup here, is still coming in the union from the Egyptian adept standpoint. That's why you see Heru as if he is flying up, holding the scimitar and exalting it above the star. And then you see the fez with the wings upon it, which is a symbol, that the chairman, has been consistent with demonstrating, in our literature. So that's the swift angel degree. That's what all these things represent. Signs and symbols of for conscious minded men and women of understanding. So showing you all these different expressions of the information, that is here. I want to go on a little further. We just spoke on the hidden chamber, so we ain't got to go there no more. But we did give an example of nature. This has always been a symbol of nature planting the flag in the earth, and it was a white banner. But what I did, I put the symbols, in the banner, to show the symbolic expression, of our flag and what it looks like from a Kemetic standpoint. God represented the banner. So this is why you see the deity, as I have him here within the flag portion, looking at, the leg of the ox, or the five-pointed star that represented harmony, truth, balance, right, order, and justice in ancient Kemet. So this same symbol has always been present. So when we get into that aspect and we understand the concept of time, and I told our people about this, I came up with a comprehensive version of the Damari Yuga cycle of the luminaries. And I went into the 311 trillion year Zep Tepi Meru, what I call the Adi Yuga cycle age. And I started off by using the things that we are familiar with. What we are told in both the biblical and the Quranic measure, there's a day of Allah which consists of 1,000 earth years, pardon self. A day with Allah being that of 1,000 earth years. Then, I showed, also the 1 day spiritual ascension that's spoken of in the Grand Quran, which equals 50,000 earth years, because it says the angel and the spirit ascends unto Allah in a period as if it were 50,000 years. This is corresponding with when our holy prophet tells us about our flag being 50,000 years old. But we also know that we can go back to a time, when the Moors circumnavigated the earth over 100,000 years ago. All this is dealing with time, paradigm shifts. A day of Allah, which is 1,000 earth years, is bound to cause a paradigm shift when it reaches its peak. A day of spiritual ascension, where one is able to travel from the plane of things made manifest into their divinity. This is a journey that would take 50,000 earth years, but yet it is but the blinking of an eye when it comes to Allah. So that shows you what you think is time, and a long time ain't nothing to Allah. He can snap his finger and be done with the span of 50,000 earth years that seems very long to us. Many of us can't even comprehend that. This, represents the closest period to us during the time where man begins to gain some gumption after being on the plane of things made manifest. The oldest man that they trace back, Jebel Uhud, is over 350-something thousand years ago in Morocco or Mauritania, or that Mount Meru, Atlas Mountain area. So the 7 days of Allah, when you do the math, time the 7 that they talk about in the days of creation in Genesis, would be 7,000 years if you was dealing with a day of Allah. And if you were to multiply that time 52 weeks, that equals 364,000 earth years. 7 days of angelic ascension, if you were to take that 50,000 years and multiply it by 364 earth days, that would be 18,200,000 earth years. 7 days of spiritual ascension equals 1 week and 350,000 earth years, which is time 52 weeks, again, coming back to 18,200,000 earth years. How is that possible that the 7 days of spiritual ascension, when you multiply them, equal the same thing as the 7 days of angelic ascension? Because it tells you again that the spirit and the angel in the Grand Quran, Surah 70, the first ayats, that the angel and the spirit ascends to Allah in a period as if it were 50,000 years. But yet, both of these, when you multiply them, they math come back around. So when you understand the concept of our calendar dealing with the circle 7 made manifest, and you multiply again those 12 cycles of 2,100 years, you get 25,200 years. You round it off and you get 25,000 years in a cycle. But we even showed the various different cycles that are mentioned, in the science of Islam and Islamism. The 17,000 year of what they call the Adamic cycles of evolution, which has to do with the different spurts in which man's consciousness begins to evolve, so to speak. We have the 100-year cycle, which is a minor cycle of great reformers, because we are told in Islam that every 100 years, this knowledge is renewed, that there's a great mujadid that's born. So it ain't strange after 100 years of time of our prophet being on the manifest that our grand national chairman came forth as a grand reformer when it comes to these teachings of Moorish science. And he was not alone, because he got one that's there bearing witness to it and standing on the front line with him and myself. And the Grand National Sheikh is on the manifest, and together we represent the triune Allah. And I don't say that from an egotistical, vain aspect. And that's what represents the prophet law on the manifest in this new era in time. It was these who came forth, and we have breathed forth through the science of triune Allah, the 7 postulates of this new era in time in the form of this Moorish American government. We have continued to breathe forth these 7 postulates, or the sages of this common age that we in right now, in the form of those of you that are in these various different consonants. So you have a special work that you were called to do. What did the 7 sages do when they were breathed forth in the beginning of creation? They began to demonstrate what we call what? Creative fate. So as postulates, consul general, assistant consul generals, secretaries, and all of those that are a part of those postulated structures, you got to demonstrate creative fate too. You know who made you, so now what you gonna make? The creation is on the manifest for us to govern. 700-year cycle of nations. And we witnessed this during the time of the Moorish rule. You had the 2100-year cycle, and that's times 3, 700 times 3. That's the age of preparation. And you hear me all the time asking, what if we could live 2100 years, of beneficence? 2100 years of justice, sincerity. You got to do a lot of mental fasting for that, huh? 25,200 year cycle, age of fulfillment. The 50,000 year cycle, age of perfected man. 100 year cycle, age of circumnavigation. That's how long it took the truth to reach us where we are right now. So that's the time cycle. So when the paradigm takes shift, and this is coming from a text called Awakening the Healing Light. You need to get that book. And this is dealing with some of the teachings of, Taoism, which is in relation to dealing with even Confucianism. But there's a symbol here showing us about the different cycles of the equinox, at the various points, March, December, all these dealing with the 21st in most cases. And it deals with an overview of Taoist inner alchemy. And they talk about tapping into and absorbing the original source of all power. We talk about the power that exerts itself for the individual to use it. It says Taoists learn to absorb and transform this force directly, rather than depending entirely on plants, animals, and motions of the earth to provide the energy. After developing the energy, the body extending into space, they learn to access energies that are pure and more highly refined. This means that humans are not necessarily restricted by the Earth's orbit. So there's some influence there. They're not restricted to it. And if you look above the head of this brother that is sitting upon, a block, so to speak, and you see his energy centers, of the chakras and the, different points of energy that are here, you can see above his head a revolving Big Dipper, which is really a symbolic scimitar rotating around a star here. Now, ask yourself the question, how is this science that I showed you is present in ancient Kemet, and I showed you in the collage of photos, being demonstrated from all these different levels with the Orisha, how did the Taoists get a science? And also this block the man is sitting on, the globe is beneath that. And they call this by opening, it's called figure 112. It says by opening the microcosmic orbit, which is really you, because you're the micro of the macro, and connecting to the cycle of the universal macrocosm, we can draw in more of the universal force. That's what the prophet talk about when he talk about men and the broken wires and connecting them to the higher power. This is a whole different book from a whole different culture, yet coming from one of the lineages of the sages of the ages. Man, it's right here being demonstrated in the science of showing you how to meditate and open up your chakras. We had that here. We even went into the mathematics of it based upon the ABGD cycle, and all of the math came back, to, the same cycles, when we deal with Musketi. So yeah, this is a very powerful symbol, the concept of scimitar in the star, as it relates to this. It also has in the book Awakening the Healing Life, it's talking about the Kunlun Mountain, which they are pointing out the center of the brain that often looks like the eye of Heru, or the pineal pituitary gland in the thalamus, It says the pineal has a close connection to the North Pole and the North Star. So your pineal gland esoterically corresponds with the North Star. That's why you see these 7 stars of the Big Dipper or the scimitar, the Kafesh that I showed you earlier, rotating around that star. This is all dealing with energy. The thalamus and hypothalamus connect to the Big Dipper. Why is this necessary? Because we're talking about a new way of thinking. The race is on a higher plane of thought. So they speak of, in this next page, heavenly chi in the microcosmic orbit. It says, then down into your whole body, feel your blood energized by it. The natural polarity to this astral fire is the blue water energy. That's the blue ethers of the earth. Breathe into the blue light and let it neutralize the red light and gather this original energy at the Tantin. Be aware of the universal violet light of the North Star flowing through the crown and down into the body. It may help to visualize a violet pearl at the crown, which you rotate in both directions. Now spiral the violet light down into your brain. First 9 times clockwise, then 9 times counterclockwise. You're dealing with the science of reentry. The natural polarity to this universal violet light is white light of your individual soul, your individual soul. Allow them to mix in the solar plexus and rest for a few moments. Enjoy the peaceful, joyful feeling. Let the light flow anywhere in your body that needs healing. So in other words, they're showing you how to cut away the ungainly illnesses of the body by using the science of the scimitar and the star. These are the symbols that are within your flag, so it shows you the greatness of your flag as opposed to thinking that you're dealing with a banner of Morocco. And they gives a picture of you spiraling the violet, red, and light energy through the whole body. You know, there it is again, the Big Dipper in the picture that's showing, and then it's rotating around the star. It's the scimitar rotating around the star. And so I demonstrated to show our people why we call this the gate of God. That's why the prophet said we are for love, truth, peace, freedom. And when these principles are violated, justice must take its course. That's within the body and outside of the body. And if you look at now, you can see again what they are showing as the plow or the Big Dipper, the saucepan, Ursa Major, because you got Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, just like you got Asia Major, Asia Minor, you know, on the earth plane. So, you know, you see that symbol, family. You know, we can't make this stuff up, you know. And it also talked about, you know, connecting the crown with the mid-eyebrow. You know, it goes into that information, showing you how to use your holy breath. You know, and this is dealing with making connections from the crown to the mid-eyebrow. And it says, beware of the crown in the mid-eyebrow point. Inhale as though you were breathing in through the crown point. Draw the violet light of the North Star in with the breast to the crystal room. And then exhale through the mid-eyebrow point. Be aware of the golden light in front of you. The energy of mountains, oceans, lakes, waterfalls, forests. Breathe that energy in through the mid-eyebrow point to the crystal room. Exhale through the crown. Repeat these last two steps 3 to 9 times. Then they show figures 11 and 10. Then rest. Feel the line of connection between the crown point and mid-eyebrow point. You know, so you can see again, you know, the 7 stars are the Big Dipper rotating, and they show the spiraling motion here around, you know, the polarity, the Polaris star. He's sitting on the square here. He's on the square, you know. So for those who still are in doubt, we again had showed another picture, you know, trying to show our people this symbol. And we can see the sister that's sitting next to the prophet, the wife of Emiliel. She actually has the symbol, and we can see the silhouette of it here as we tried to blow it up as best as we can, but it's the scimitar and the star. And that's pride of Kirkman Bay for a lot of people that think he brought the symbol. We also see the same symbol in reference to dealing with Adam Codman as it relates to the 10 Sephirot, or the 10 cycles, or this would represent the period where cherubim and seraphim is, because it represents the 9 orders of the angels when you get up into the top aspect of this demonstration. You know, the white banner that became red. You know, we have that in here, and we show the difference between Adam Codman, which consists of a union of spirit man and spirit woman, Ish and Isha, as opposed to Adam and Eve, you know, represent, you know, those who come forth in Asia, so to speak, as the teachings of the Kabbalistic aspect would have it. You know, Asia represents the earth. We even show an expression of how cherubim and seraphim work through our beings, and how we move from natural law, or what they call shariat, into tariqat. You know, a tariqat represents a path of what we call tasawwuf. Our path of tasawwuf, Sufism, is sebugatala. You know, and we move from that into the reality of hakikat, where man himself is the truth. This is when you tap in the concept of cherubim, where cherubim is able to weave, you know, a celestial cloth. And seraphim represents marifat. You know, that's the highest degree of completion when it comes to your wisdom. And it comes through these various different paths. Al Son being a man going through Malkuth, Nasut, Jabrut, Lahut, Hahut, which is 3rd heaven, and all the way back to the Zat. Those are 7 stages, you know, according to the doctrine of Sufism, that represent one return to the spirit of the Almighty God Allah. Cherubim represents protection in chapter 1, which is the scimitar. The spirit represents the symbol and the star and the principles of the star. So that's the scimitar and the star, cherubim and seraphim. Being the truth and coming into the reality and the embodiment of marifat. You know, again, that's scimitar and star. But we had to come out of a state of being mere men into being angels. Here now, ye cherubims, ye seraphim, you angels, and you men. You see, we even went into the history and showed our people with the same symbolism. It growed on us, Moors. You know, when it talks about, you know, the Lord possessing man in the beginning of his way before his works of the old, that's spirit man. That's Kadman. You see? And that right there, in and of itself, is in the Piscean records. You know, the original man, flesh divine. You know, so once we understand that, we can also see where we are now. And when the prophet went on his journey to Saudi Arabia, what was the symbol in the flag of Saudi Arabia? It was green. It had that same shahada that I showed y'all earlier in the white flag, but it had the flag with a scimitar in it. And then Morocco, in making his journey all the way back across the Sahel, you know, on his way back here to where we are, you know, the star surface. So if you look at the combination of the flag of Saudi Arabia having a scimitar and a star, it's not strange that Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought that same symbol. You see how this symbolism continuously surfaces, whether you're dealing with cosmology, whether you're dealing with self-mastery, whether you're dealing with being an Egyptian adept, whether you dealing with us conquering a place, whether you deal with the teachings of the Orisha, this same symbol is coming forth. You see? Powerful symbolism. And then I have a picture up here what I put out a while back where I say the scimitar and star is a universal symbol of the Muslims, and it is indigenous to Islam. And I show various flags, such as the flag of Saudi Arabia here again, green with the Shahada. You know, the flag of the Malakite dynasty, as they call themselves, with the scimitar and the star in it. Then we have another flag, which is of that same dynasty with the scimitar and the stars in it. You know, we have again one that is standing in front of, you know, a red banner, you know, and they had the double-edged sword of Al-Zulfikar, the sword of Ali in their hand. You know, and a lot of that is dealing with, you know, the Arabian and Iranian governments that was representing that. The same thing here, another Malachite flag with the stars in it and scimitar. So it's not wonder that we have the same symbol, even though we have our own variation, a version of it. You know what I mean? And our star is open. We also seen these same principles, and I'm getting ready to open up the floor in a second. You know, it says, this is your flag, Moorish America. Take it and save yourself. This is one of the first measures I brought forth when I came up with the Grand Sisla about Moorish flag. And, you know, this is one of the things I brought forth, and I talked about this as the Moorish Psalm, which is Psalm 85, 10 through 14. And if you read different variations of it, you will see encoded in this particular psalm is the principles and also our prophet's mission. It starts in Ayat 10, and it says, near indeed is his salvation. So I place freedom in the bracket there, because freedom is salvation. Salvation, our God, unity, right? Salvation is our prophet, our God is Allah, and our unity is us under our one government. For those who fear him, glory will dwell in our land. Right? What land? Moorish America. In Ayat 11, or verse 11, as they would call it, it mentioned almost all of the principles. Love and truth will meet, it states, and justice and peace will kiss. We just mentioned freedom in the first ayat. So that's love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice mentioned right there. Like I say, it's encoded through the various translations. It says, truth will spring from the earth. Justice will look down from heaven. If that ain't the scimitar above the star, man himself being the truth, Allah being the truth, I don't know what it is. It says, yes, the Lord will grant him or grant his bounty, and our land will yield its produce. Then it says, justice will march before him and make way for his footsteps. You know, and that's referred to me again. I see our holy prophet, you know, that's being spoken of here, right there in the book of Psalms. I brought a closure to, our grand sister with that before I developed all of this information. So there's no one that can tell me that our God, pardon self, our garbs in plural are not celestial. Can't nobody tell me that, family. You know, and so we on a new way of thought. When our thinking change, everything that we represent, our ensigns, and everything that we have, such as our Constitution, the way we thought under the United States Constitution, all of that should change as well. As man unfolds, as God unfolds. And none of this is limited to time, though we measure time by cycle ages as they relate to paradigm shifts. This is the time of a paradigm shift. Everything that's going on now, either you going to get with it or you going to get crushed by that ball that's rolling down on Babylon. And we don't wish that on none of our people. So with that being said, Morris Ken, I had more to go into, but we'll touch on a few things that's relevant to this subject matter as we open up the floor. But we know it's only a few that's going to come forth, to let it be known that they've been saved anyway. So at this particular time, I'm going to stop sharing the screen for now, and we're going to open up the floor, and we'll give a few minutes of time, since we had to go through a little extensive period, to give our family some insight of clarity. So at this time, star 6 your phone more. Like I say, if you want to, you can speak from the panel, or you can speak from our conference call, on the phone. Whichever one, all is well. So star 6 your phone more and stick to the subject matter and the subject title. Keep the energy and the vibration in sync with that. Don't bring no apples and oranges up in here, or nuts and bolts in here, because we talking about apples and oranges. Islam. All right, Islam, is there any more that would like to come forth? Star 6 your phone.
Islam.
Islam, Sister Curta Bay. Gratitude for your support.
Islam. Hey, I'm gonna jump right in there. That Dendra Nia Bay. First, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Nabi Ali. I give honors to Act One. I give honors to all my government officials. I give honors to
Unmuted.
National Sister Grand Sheik for this powerful class tonight. I tell you, I was trying to keep up so much powerful information. Definitely got to go back and listen to the playback and those different ways to meditate that you had up there. Do Have you sent them out? Do we have them already? But I would like to have those where you're going through and showing us how to meditate. Doing the meditations. We can get together after class or whatever. That was so powerful. I love that. And yes, your subject for tonight is the wheel of time has turned once more. The race is on a higher plane of thought. The cherubim have woven a celestial cloth, have placed it in our hands, and we must make for men new gods. I tell you, God, man, this is a powerful class. And what stood out to me in all your wonderful information that you brought is us raising our thought pattern, changing the way we think, leaving that NBC mindset and raising our thoughts to a higher level, to a higher plane. And at this time, it's so imperative, as gods and goddesses, it's so imperative that we learn this, that we learn to elevate our thought pattern. Because if we don't, we don't have time to stay in that NBC mindset. And like you say, God, man, it's time out. It's time out to be afraid or to be behind somebody or whatnot. Hey, hey, we got Allah leading on and victory is assured. We got a holy prophet. He say, get behind me. And if you got him out front, what is there to be afraid of? Like you say, we got cherubim and seraphim. We got the great God Allah. What is there to be afraid of? Can't nobody harm us. I mean, there's nothing to be afraid of, And I don't care if you don't like you say, we have to get out of this, worrying about what people think, I'm going to tell you the truth. And it don't matter to me what you think about it. All I say for me to speak truth. I can't continue to perpetrate the lies no more. I stopped doing that when I was in the Piscean era, perpetrating that lie about Jesus. So I'm definitely not going to come to the great God Allah's divine movement, this Moorish American government, and be afraid and continue to perpetrate a lie that I know is a lie. So family, I tell you, God, man, this is a powerful, powerful class talking about them thoughts. You had my attention when you was talking about them thoughts, because I love that. And the prophet is dealing with me now. Thoughts. So gratitude, God, man, for let me share. This is a powerful class. Gratitude, peace, and love.
And gratitude to you as well, sis. But yeah, that book is called Awakening the Healing Light. And you wouldn't believe where I found that book at.
Oh, okay.
I found it at Goodwill.
What?
$2. Big book.
Awakening Healing Light.
Awakening the Healing Light. And the whole science is that book when it comes to meditation. That's the method they say is the quickest way to get you into the astral realm. Wow. And it's based upon the Big Dipper in the Polaris, which is really Scimitar star.
Yeah.
Coming from really the Confucian lineage. You know what I mean? So everybody has talked about this Scimitar star, Big Dipper, and Polaris is in one way or another, going all the way back to Kemet. All the sages have mentioned this science, so everybody can't be lying.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
It's long.
So, yeah, you get the book, you're going to see. So them just excerpts out of the book. It's way more than that.
Oh, okay.
Them just the ones I put up there to try to give our people insight so they can understand. Just like scientists, come forth with, scientific theory based upon what they find, we too have come forth with our Moorish science, and we have showed through all of that I just produced. That ain't something made up. You can find that in documents, and if one goes, I got more than that. That's just the pictures of it. I got other books that I had for years, like the Celestial Ship of the North, which speaks immensely, and most of y'all bought that book. But that's the book that deals a lot with the concepts of cosmology. It talks about the 7 Elohim. It talks about cherubim and seraphim. And I actually had excerpts. I'm going to pull it up in a second, just to show our people some things. But, yep, we give honors to your sister Curta Bay for that drawing. Yep, but the name of that book is Awakening the Healing Light. So Islam. Is there any other Moors who would like to come on the manifest and exercise their 5? Islam,
Grand Class System, National Grand Sheik. This is Sean Washington M.O. Tuck Ravel from the Michigan Consulate. I rise and give all praise to the great God Allah. I give all honors to Noble Ali, the last prophet of all times. I give all honors to this theocratic government, the 12 departments. I give all honors to the theocratic Moorish government flag. Give all honors to the Book of Fire, the 101s, 102s, the Book of Ali, the Holy Quran. Wow, this is a grand class. We broke it down on these different varieties of flags, Moroccan flags. We see it plain and simple. When the prophet, when he was sitting with his legs crossed at the Pan-Cuban conference, we had the so-called down of the United States. Then he had the the Moroccan flag upside down, you know, and in his office, you know, he said it was distress, you know. Cause this is a brother, y'all might know him, man. Dick Tier, he be saying he go way back to the ancient Moroccans. It was 12 flags, and that 5-pointed star, you know, he was saying it's adopted, you know, cause you know, like these more signed temples, you know, organizations. I'm not knocking the, you know, the organization, but they think that's the only, you know, Moroccan flag that's, you know, that's Morocco's over this, 1956, the kingdom, you know. And he said he said that every 2 months. I be listening to you be saying he go back to the ancient Moors, you know. He not in this government though, but he even telling our people this stuff. It was, and I see it. It had the scimitar, like you broke it down. You know, different like the Arabia. I be seeing the Arabian, you know, over there across the, you know, over there in Mecca, so-called Mecca, they had a scimitar. I think it's green and the white. They had the air writings, you know. So we, you know, and in this government, we got the scimitar and the 5-pointed stars, you know. But the members, you know, we can't tell them that. They think, oh, that's the prophet brand that. He got it out the vote, you know. Most. I know I was talking to a couple more when I was, I think 3 years ago. They ain't want to listen. And they said, oh, the prophet ain't bring that more bureaucratic government flag, you know, that's fly to the UN, you know. So, you know, you broke it down plain and simple. That's what I love that how you broke it, you know. Then, you know, we got to stop playing with this government. We got to start round on these people coattails, this corporation. You know, they you know, like you said, the ball is rolling on them. You know, they crumbling. You know, they losing their power around the world. You know, their time is up right now. So we got to come into this government. You know, build our nation up. You know, pay our dues. You know, this you know, help our build our, you know, government up. You know, gratitude, peace and love, Islam.
Gratitude and peace and love to you as well, brother Sean Washington here. We give honors to you for that grand drawing because, you know, I don't know if you've seen, you know, the video, but on the video, that's what I was showing our people, that green banner in Saudi Arabia, which is in Mecca. That's where the prophet went. That's where he got his high name from. So it's a warning. Our symbol is a warning to them as well. That scimitar coming up out of Saudi Arabia, and as he made his way across the Sahel into West Africa, the star, which that star was adopted by Morocco, it was given to them from our ancestors. That come through the Sabians. That come through the ancient Moabites. But their flag became fallow, you know, meaning null and void. They lost their saving power in the flag. That's why they couldn't fly it again until I said the brother Turner L, that was friends with the Prince of Peace, aided them, assisted them to be able to gain some independence. You know, they couldn't fly it during the time of the prophet. That's why he displayed it upside down in adversity to the principles they represented, being the same as that with the United States. He always flew them backward, you know, and so, yeah, when that symbol was given to them, it became of no effect. You know, they didn't have no saving power. They couldn't claim love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, even though some of them now will say that's what the principles represent. I'm talking about Morocco. And, you know, where they get that from? You look it up, they'll say the Moroccan flag in certain literatures represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And this ain't coming from the Moorish Science Temple now, you know, but where they get that from? They know they lost access to them principles when they allowed that flag to be used, you know, to ship our people, you know, under slavery. And that's why we don't represent that flag, and that's why we have our own flag. They say the prophet didn't bring that flag y'all got. He didn't bring the current form of the flag, but he brought the symbol that is the ingredients of the flag. So in essence, he really did bring the flag, Because when he was sitting down with them two flags, on his lapel was the spinning jump ring with the circle 7 being displayed, and on the other side was a scimitar and star. So the prophet brought the symbol, and he reached down from on high into the consciousness of our Grand National Chairman, and the chairman put the scimitar above the star where it belonged. Something the prophet did with his adept symbol. So if they tell you the prophet didn't bring that, they don't know too much about the prophet. Islam, is there any other more who would like to speak? The floor is still open, more. Like I say, we're going to extend a few minutes. Islam. Islam, you got the flow, Grand Man.
Can you hear me good, Grand Man?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Praise the Lord. All right. Just remind me, Michael Mulvey, North Carolina, and once again, I rise to give praise to big God, honest to our brothers and sisters. Honest to our citizens, our sisters, and our covenant. Ooh, honest to you, man, for breaking it down. You know, I am so honored to be here. You know, to hear you demonstrate the difference between our flag, the Moorish flag, and the flag of Morocco. You know, and demonstrating how scimitar has always been, indigenous to Islam out of our forefathers' history, from our forefathers. And I'm so honored to be amongst the saviors and being able to demonstrate that we have our own flag. You know, I realized that our flag is the only national insignia to the freedom of the Moorish Americans. And it clearly sounds the long awaited return of the Moors, return of the ancient ones. And you just demonstrated that. Ooh, you talking about this, talking about what is the records that have been had. You say 311 crazy years? Wow. That is so that is so amazing to be taught that we have such a glorious and wonderful history for us to look back on. You know, and you know that having our own flag and representing as the new God further proclaims the end of nation slavery and the life. But still, much wisdom to be learned from amongst the descendants of Africa. Like our father said, you know, and our flag also says we the Moorish Americans are the major writers of Moorish history and only ensure that our contribution to humanity will be written. Praise be to our Lord. But in order to understand the divine and worldwide significance of the Moorish American banner, you know, one must examine each of its symbols here. And you demonstrate that so certainly plain to the child to understand the significance of the scimitar and the star and the principles represented as above, so below, as our God, so we, the Moorish is to God, being more God. You know, that is a grand demonstration that He gives you a great healing within. Fills my mind, my heart with pride to be aligned once again with the contribution of my ancient forefathers and my modern forefathers, because even though they have put us under those names that they do, we still find that we have so many contributions given to humanity that we are enjoying as we speak. It is too good to let the world know that we are not Negroes, black, colorful, African American, open, instead of, you know, it's so wonderful to be able to holler out and explain that was that we are the Moorish Americans. All these contributions have been given to us, and we have our own flag, and we have our own homeland to plant that flag in. That gives me much honor and pride to be able to tell the world, let the world know that we are back, and we're going to do what it is our time to do. It is new ever a time now that our holy divine providence has achieved. So grand class, God, man, please go on doing what you do. We love you. Islam.
Islam. And we love you too, grand man. We give honors to you for all that you do, all that you've done, and all that you will do. You know, and I want to show our family something briefly. And then we're going to go to our next Moorish American Muslim. Like I say, we got a time extension on here, you know, because this is very important that we understand the nature of our flag. And we also have the source material to express what it is we represent. And if you can see right now, my screen, my family that's on the panel, do you see my screen right now?
Islam, we see.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Gratitude. And I was actually just showing you in some of our artwork, if you've seen the active movement, you know, of a globe pretty much in rotation around, you know, one of the symbols in the artwork that I brought on the manifest, you know, in the form of the white banner with the feathers and the wings and, you know, so forth and so on. Everything to try to get our family to comprehend what we represent. You know, the swift angel degree, so to speak. White mean purity, purity mean God, God mean the ruler of the land. But I also showed what would be an aerial view of looking straight up in the air, and you would see the rotation of the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper around the polarises. In this book that I'm coming from now is the Celestial Ship of the North. I had my copy for 30 years. But here's a measure out of this, because they talk a lot about this scimitar and star, or, you know, Big Dipper and the cherubim and seraphim. It says the circle and the cycle are synonymous. A circle is sorrows or cycle, and with every race was the symbol of the unknown. It is boundless space and limitless time, eternity. We talked about Zep Tepe earlier, right? Time never was when man was not, right? Born from the above based on the myth of the birth of time, and the circle made by the stars, it says, that had neither beginning nor end. It says, thus the celestial, the eternal was founded on the cycle in the circle, and the continual cyclic repetition. Remember, I talked about the serpent consuming its tail. It says, just as in the creation of the 4 cardinal points from the circle, that's where your quadrants come in. Your 90 degrees per, the cycle that represent 360. It says the 4 times of Egypt represented forever. So though it seems the circle is broken, the circle is really unbroken. It says through the continuity of one circle mingling with another, the transformation of one cycle into another can be found in the Hebrew word everlasting, meaning ever repeat. The prophet said he was going to repeat himself. That's through cycles. That's through the paradigm shift. So he on the manifest now. Oh, you thought Prophet Noble Drew Ali was dead? What you think justice taking his course is? It says the hierophants of Egypt created from their philosophy the circle of necessity, the fate to which all are doomed as well as judged, the circle that is symbolized in the 12 signs of the zodiac, or what we call Dendra. You see how accurate, this book, The Celestial Ship of the North, and it's dealing all with the Dendra. Now watch what it says. It says the sword as the flaming sword that turned every way. Just like that one in the book of Revelation when cherubim stood up and wouldn't let them people with the naught thoughts come back in. It says it's the sword of the 4 corners, or the cardinal points of the world. And as the crooked sword or sickle was a symbol of the planet Saturn, called the synth of time, in Egyptian it was called Kafesh. Now I showed that to our family here, the constellation of the thigh, the celestial apparatus of executive rulers. The scimitar has a bearer, a guard, and a blade. The bearer represents Allah. The guard represents the swift angels. The blade represents the prophets. You see, like we can't make this stuff up, family. This is literally written in stone and on papyri, or in papyri, in word. So this ain't no spookism. This is the real deal. So it says the sword of the 4 corners are cardinal points of the world as the crooked sword or sickle. That's that curved blade that they referring to, that convex that our chairman taught us about. The sickle was a symbol of the planet Saturn called synth of time. In Egyptian, it was called Kafesh, one of the names of the constellation of the Great Bear. Didn't we show it to you? E. Wallace Bud said the same thing. In the Dendra plane sphere, which is the zodiac is really referred to, that's what you see on my, the actual backdrop of this broadcast, the Dendra. It say it was, and we give honors to our sister Dendra. It was symbolized by the leg of a hippopotamus, even indicating the thigh, the original birthplace in heaven. That's why they call it the gateway of God. When Saturn was represented as God, a crown was placed upon his head, endowing him with majesty and making him a judge of the court of justice. That's that crown, that scimitar, and that star. It says, held at the time of reaping, the harvest time. Justice taking its course. The golden age of justice. Saturn has remained a symbol of justice down to the present day. And I'm going to show you one more. It says, the cherubim, or cherubs, were esoterically identical with the seraphim. Go back to chapter 1. What the seraphim represent, the spirit of Almighty God Allah. You know what is cherubim doing? Standing there in the fence. That's scimitar and star right there, being images or likenesses of the celestial constellations. The heavenly hosts, it says, are cosmic angels and have an exquisite knowledge. It is said of the seraphim that they know most, but the cherubim love most. And we put protection on the thing that we love. Remember the degrees of going through, cherubim, seraphim, angels, and men. These represent stages that the man himself has to come through. It's the man that has to go through the angelic degree, through paths of tariqat, to become the truth, which is hakikat, cherub. And then into seraphim, which is marifat. Remember, I spoke on that earlier. It says, and angels are also are so called from their exquisite knowledge, and were therefore used for the purpose for the punishment of men who sin by affecting divine knowledge. Just as taking its course. Cherub has the meaning of a serpent in a circle. Remember I told you about the serpent consuming its tail as well? Kir is circle, and Ob is serpent. So they're bringing it together, a comedic measure of where the word cherub would come from. It says Adonai, Jah, the Hebrew El or Lord, has a biblical connection with the cherubim, as the Lord of Israel is spoken of as dwelling between the cherubim and the ark that was in the midst of them. This was the ark, that point of the covenant between the heaven and the earth, the constellation of the thigh, known as the ship of the north. So the celestial ship of the north is a representation of the scimitar and the star, as the seven rotate around the polarises. That's why you often see the boat of Ra is in the shape of the scimitar, moving through the Amduat in ancient Kemet. You can't get around this. You can't get around the fact that our holy prophet was an Egyptian adept master. You see? So, with that right there, family, it's a powerful demonstration. And the scimitar has always been a symbol. Like I keep telling y'all, we have the picture with, right here, Amen Ra holding the scimitar, giving it, to one. And we know, as we told you, that Amen is who? This is also where the name Mar come from, or More come from. Ain't nobody been able to defeat that. They ran their mouth and ran their beak, but ain't nobody been able to overthrow that. Since I brought it forth to our family and showed it to them. So they showing that concept of the leg of the hippopotamus, as it relates to the scimitar here. This has always been a symbol. They even got some versions of the Bible say Moses, slayed the Israelite with this kafesh, with the leg of an ox. In other words, he used the scimitar. And, when he slayed not the Israelite, but the Egyptian. So yeah, it's there. And there's so much more, family, that I have, like I say, in this demonstration alone, that it goes deeper into this information that I have. And I got videos on this. I done did this a whole bunch of times. But, it goes over some people's head and they ain't catching it. They ain't getting it, Morris Ken. They don't understand how deep, the ties and history of our flag goes when you talk about the constellation of Musketeer or the Great Bear. And like I said, this didn't come from Kirkman Bay. He was the first person to mark his fez and put Sultan up there, when the real Sultan is Prophet Noble Drew Ali. That's in the East right now. True East is really within us. That's what a vacant seat was. You see? So Kirkman Bay was the first one to mark his fez and try to use that as a symbol, as you can see in this picture here. But then over here, you see him with a Masonic fez on, with the crescent and, the Egyptian on it, and then Allah. You see, a lot of people don't even know these things exist. So he was always marking his fez, something the prophet told the Moors not to do. So I talked about that spinning jump ring. For the ones who was in disbelief, you can see it right here. It wouldn't be a need for there to be a spinning jump ring if it wasn't something on the other side. You see? And regardless of which one of these symbols you look at right here that I got on this screen, whether it's our medallion, or what the MST of A demonstrate, if the circle symbol on one side, the scimitar and the star on the other side. So who brought the symbol? The prophet. Anybody that tell you anything else don't know what they're talking about. And they're just talking out the side of their neck. Even on the works of, the resurrection MST of A, if you look closely, you notice what symbol they have here. The exact same symbol. They just got everything in red ink. But if you look on the bottom here, on the back of that book cover, They got the same symbol within our Moorish flag. But yet some of the members that follow that particular group would tell you the prophet didn't bring that. So we just debunked that and overthrew that a few minutes ago. But it's right there, our flag symbol, what the prophet brought it right there on the back of their book. Go figure. You know, and like I said, you know, on that spinning jump ring, the other side, you know, is definitely what it is. So if you can't comprehend the fact that that red background, you know, was connected to the scimitar and the star right there, you know, and then this is what Kirkman Bay brought. He put a blue background on it. You know, that came from Kirkman Bay. So that's what they get mixed up. The symbol as opposed to his remix on the Robert's Rules of Order. You see? And it's the same thing right here. Even on the McCarter Bean files written by the brother R. Neil, what his name? I forgot the brother name from out of Baltimore. Not R. Neil Bay. I want to say, is it R. Reynolds Bay? But, you know, he the one that pretty much brought forth the history on the MST of A, you know, and he went into this particular demonstration, right? It's been a minute since I spoke on the brother. But, yeah, a lot of these symbols, I was telling you about those who had adopted, you know, the scimitar beneath the star. You can see it on the screen right here. You know, these symbols, this was actually the flag of Turkey here. The red, the white banner with the red crescent and star on it. This was an adoption of that Saudi Arabian flag. They just put a white star in between it in the scimitar. And this is around the time when they were trying to go against us for our scimitar and star. And that's actually the flag of Saudi El Song. Then they just had the circle 7, you know, being red and took the blue quadrants out. And this is where they got inspiration. This is from the Moorish colonies. This is an actual building. You see, and you see the same symbolism there. So they adopted that. Whoever put the scimitar above the star during the time the Moorish colonies, you know, were built, you know, this is where they came up with that concept from. See, we very observant, family. You can't get too much past me. This is years of research. This is like the last 20 years of some of my research. And some of y'all seen it when I was putting this stuff out here, you know. And so, you know, we showed our people, you know, exactly what it is. Like I say, this is not something that just come about recently. And like I said, the scimitar and the star, that's the original of that Moorish coat of arms. Like I say, the scimitar is indigenous to Islamism. All of these are Islamic, you know, flags or banners that have either a scimitar and a star, you know, or even a crescent in it. You know, so like I said, this is Saudi Arabia's flag, the green, with the scimitar in it, and then that's Morocco. So if you were to put it together in them exact form, this is what the flag would have looked like if it would have been brought this way. But the chairman brought it based upon what our prophet brought, you know, and that's why it came out. You know, and I go back to this, and I'm gonna open up the floor one more time. Then we'll go to our fishes after we get here. But we got them to your family. You know, like I said, scimitar and the star, and there it is. You see? And that's a sign silhouette I have, Saudi and Morocco. What is the symbolism in here? You see the chairman unsheathing the scimitar? You got Hassan, that's the current king over there. He asked him, what is the modern name for Moabites? While he unsheathed that scimitar. Moroccans. Who is God in the holy city of Mecca? This is the seed of Ibn Saud over here on the other side of the chairman to keep the unbelievers away. Angels. Huh? So I said the vacant seat in the east has been filled. I wish a member would. So with that being said, Morris Ken, we're going to go back and open up the floor to the more. Let me stop the screen share. Anybody that have anything they want to say, we done made it plain. You ain't got no excuses. The prophet taking away all the excuses today. Islam.
Islam.
Islam, brother.
Can you hear me, Grandman?
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Islam, yes, sir. I know the time is short, so this is Dr. Gerald Hamid Muhammad Bey of the South Carolina Consulate. I want to give praise to our Father God Allah, honors to His holy prophet, our holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali. We'll give honors to our Moorish American government, our Moorish American nation, all the citizens and officials of our Moorish American government and this nation. I give honors to those that spoke before me and those that will speak after me. And I give honors to absolutely everything Moorish. I also give honors to this most profound Moorish perspective class this evening. Gratitude, grand man. Not going to be too long. I just want to express, for me, this presentation and the ayat, of focus, the subject matter, the wheel of time. I mean, of course, automatically, you hear the voice of our holy prophet. And the prophet is saying, but this is a new era of time now. It's so profound because it fits perfectly with the ayat. And I'm paraphrasing, because I'm on my phone and it's kind of like hard for me to read the ayat. And then it says, the wheel of time has turned once more. So we know that our beloved holy prophet ushered in the cycle age of Khanum, which they refer to as the age of Aquarius, the new era of time. And in this new era of time, what the prophet brought to us, man, this is so unique. When it talks about the making of new garb for this era of time. See, the prophet said what? He came to teach us how to be ourselves. So this made me think about Act 2 of our Divine Constitution and Bylaws of Moorish America. See, we know that we had to descend, so to speak, down to the plane of manifest so that we could learn how to master this temple of the flesh, the carnality of this plane of existence. The prophet said everything begins with a thought. So we find that, for me, I relate this to the 7 universal laws and principles in the Kabbalion of Tahuti, because the very first principle is mentalism. Everything is mental. All right, let's fast forward. So we descend down. But now, right, that's the first part of Act 2, that grand event of us being formed and coming to this plane. But the prophet comes in the due course of time with a divine decree of creative fate. He comes in time, on time, and brings us the new garb, the knowledge, the information, the understanding, the wisdom for us to be able to depart out of the flesh while still in the flesh. This is what, the presentation that you made, grand man, that new garb. See, the new garb is not of the physical plane. It manifests in the physical plane, but it's far, far beyond that. And I'll just close it with this. And so for me, this is what I received. So the prophet put it in this context, not trying to demean or degrade anyone, but he said in chapter 1, no finite mind can comprehend things infinite. And this is where we are now. 2025 to is divine mind. The 2 plus the 2 is 4, which is the divine order of the Ma'atian law. And then you have the 5, which is divine infusion, but it sums up to be 9, which is completion, departing out of the flesh and ascending unto our Father God Allah. That's a state of consciousness. Like you said, justice. And the essence of justice is truth. And truth is art, and art is Allah. That's the unity. Islam and gratitude. I don't want to go too long. We got time. Gratitude, great man. Thanks for letting me share. Peace and love.
And gratitude to you, brother, for that drawing. Praise be to Allah, Islamism without the schism. It's a lot of science, family, and that still ain't all of it, that I presented. That's just flashes of the light, so to speak. It's infinite wisdom, speaking from out of the highest plane of spirit life. But we teach this openly. We don't keep no secrets. A lot of this information that I'm putting out here, those who consider themselves Masonics or call themselves adepts, having not come through the lineage of the prophet, they would tell you that we are wrong for giving these secrets up to you. So many people don't even realize what we're giving you. Things that people are trying to hide from you. So they take it for granted because we give it to them. Then ain't no way somebody can get around it and call it pseudo. Because we done showed it to you in the cosmos. We showed it to you in the Kemetic text. We showed it to you in the healing arts, of other texts of our Asiatic family. It's all over the place. So whether our people know it or not, this symbol, scimitar and star within our flag, represent everything that is, was, and evermore to be as it relates to our science. So that being said, my spirit tell me that it's somebody trying to get in there. One more person, we're going to give our Moorish kin a chance to rotate around the Polarises and give their drawing, and then we go into the officials. Islam, who you with, Moore? Come on in here. Oh, don't be scared. Don't be bashful. We're giving you a chance to utilize your platform. You have a voice here. This is the Moorish perspective. Well, all right. Call me a liar then. At this time,
No,
Islam.
gratitude, God, man. Can you hear me?
All right, Brother Marvin Edwards Bay. Yes, sir.
Gratitude. Yeah, this is Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay. Praise and honor to be given. Reiterate, all praise to the great God Allah and highest honors to his prophet, our prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Give honors to this class, most powerful class. Give honors to you, God, man, for bringing on the manifest, the most powerful class. As you go through the teachings and manifest that which Allah has put on your heart. And going back to the ayat that you began on, you talk about the garments that our fathers wore have given out. The cherubim have woven a celestial cloth, have placed it in our hands, and we must make for men new garbs. And this bears witness that we have a mission. We must use our talents that the great God has put on our hearts, within that east where we meet the great God, and We have to be about our Father's work, you know, and aiding and assisting, you know, bringing the truth to our people, you know, what I mean, as we see it. Um, and I'm just so grateful for being here in this Morris American government, being a part of this, because this is what it's all about. You know, what I mean, standing up, you know what I mean, and coming forth, you know, because we all have that power. And you know, I was just looking through this book. He was talking about awaken the healing light. You know what I mean? How they talk about that chi. And this is, I mean, all of this is powerful, powerful information. You know what I mean? And reflecting back on that class we had like last night with Dr. Tindra, you know, as you bring forth the Tindra, and talking about we have to change the way we think, and that's how we do it. You know what I mean? And as that banner comes forth, talking about that, I'm waiting for it coming around again. When I say the wheel of time has turned once again, once more. The race is on a higher plane of thought. The cherubim have woven a celestial cloth, have placed it in our hands, and we must make for men new garbs. You know, this is powerful. It just bears witness that we have to take responsibility, you know, for doing the work, because it's not going to get done without us. And, you know, we just have to be willing. You know, we have to be able to study oneself, because, you know, and I've been going over this recently, talking about the, you know, the cosmos, how it's just as much a part of us as any other part of us, you know, and connecting with it and feeding upon it, you know. Oh man, this is powerful. And I just say gratitude, God, man, for all you do, for waking us up, keeping us in the now. You know, that's what it's all about. Being present in the now, not waiting for someone else to do what we must do. I just say gratitude, God, man, for allowing me to speak. Islam and peace.
Gratitude for the measure, Grand Man. We give honors to you, Brother Marvin Edwards Bay. Every one of us got a saving power, you know, that exert itself for the individual at the will of our use. And our purpose is to draw that out of ourselves. That's what education is. It means to draw out, you know, to return to the source, you know, is our destiny. And, you know, it's just like if you've seen the DC or Marvel comics, where they always try to talk about, you know, Superman and Aquaman and, you know, all these different heroes. All of these particular ones had a saving power. And a lot of people don't know the oldest within the Marvel comics are actually the comedic Netzeru. A lot of people don't even know. They ain't made no movies on it yet. The closest they have is Black Panther, you know, that deal with Bas, you know, the goddess or the Netzeru, the deity. But people don't know that they have a MCU, you know, that actually deals with the comedic background. And I look to see a day what happened when the Romans put that out there, because they actually have comedic MCU pantheon, you know, that actually exists. I wonder why they ain't told that story yet. But that's a whole nother measure. But anyway, at this time, we're going to call on our official. We're going to start with calling forth Sister Offset of Moonell, Islam, Assistant Grand National Secretary of the State. You there?
Islam, Islam, Islam. Presently rise and give our praises to Allah. And our honors to our Prophet Nabi Ali, honors to our Moorish government, our officials of our government, and our citizens. Honors to you, God, man, and national citizens of Moorish America, Dr. Shibu Mentor, Muhammad Shepwell, who open our conference call calling to law, and for bringing forth a grand Moorish perspective this season as our host instructor, and honors to our goddess queen or godman that took registration and read our subject chapter of the week, and honors to our Moorish king that brought forth their grand measures of understanding also. Honors on that topic for tonight's class, and I have one statement. When I listen to everything that's been said, the prophet says signs and symbols are for men of understanding, and based on what you've given us, the history and the in-depthness of our flag and the history and the proof behind how the flag is patterned and why it's patterned that way. Why the scimitar is in the position that it's in, why the star is in the position that it's in. Everything's for a reason. Science, Moorish science. So praise the Lord for the love and the prophet that he sent to us, for us, and through us. As long as we continue to keep our prophet out front, the blessings will continue to flow. Islam is gratitude to call me for peace and love to all my Moorish.
In Islam, sister, we give honors to you that for that draw, and that's right. You know, the position that the flag and the symbols in the flag are in, you know, it's right there. You know, when he say our flag is a red flag with a 5-pointed open green star in the center. You know, so the center of what? The center of the circle. You know, so those are the ingredients that the prophet mentioned in reference to dealing with the flag, and they are in our flag. It is a flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center, but it also, in distinguishment, represents, you know, what it does as the Moorish flag in this era in time, which is no different than you having 50 different Moroccan flags. Then why can't the Moorish flag come forth in greater power, having a scimitar above the star? We'll leave that for ones to figure out in their own research. But at this time, let us call forth our National Grand Mufti, Dr. Khonshu Ma'at Herubay. Islam, you there, Grand Man?
Islam.
Islamism without the schism.
Gratitude calls forth. We rise, giving all thanksgiving, adoration, worship, and praise to our Father God, Allah, great God of the universe, and we give the highest honors that we can give to his prophet, our prophet, the last prophet in these days and in these times, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the savior of humanity. We give honor to his forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we give honor to his government, our government, the Moorish American government in which we live according to Act 6. We give honor to the officials of this said government, our divine ministers and swift angels, our mufti, our royal council, our secretaries. We give honor to our citizens, the Moorish Americans. We give honor to our flag and our divine constitution and bylaws, our Holy Quran, our Grand National Seal, our Grand National Emblem, our Book of Fire, the exhument of a nation. We give honor to everything that is Moorish. We give a special high honor to you, National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Shadu Amiti Ahmed Shepsewell, for bringing forth this grand Moorish perspective this evening. We give honor to all of our Moorish kin who have spoken before us, to our Moorish kin that will speak after us. We give honor to you, angels. We continue to give the honors where they're due and honor all true and divine prophets. And we give honor to our ancestors. They have come before us, leading the way, and we are them today without doubt or contradiction, because no one has the power to change man from his descent nature. And praise the Lord for that. And, you truly brought angel food to Stephen, a grand man, and you touched on many subjects. And when we look at the wheels of the time, you know, or the things that Royal Council deals with, coming age in the age of now, and as we look at what is it exactly is going to be best for our people. As you said, now is the time
understanding, and we bring it to the people, and we express to them, the truth of the matter. We give them the truth to drink from, and allow that truth to nourish them and to quench the thirst. So it's chapter 1 tells us that the cherubim and seraphim and solar stars, these demonstrations are to be man's God, and they will lead to victory. As we look at, as you demonstrating, as above, so below, as we look at as within, so without, and we're demonstrating understanding that we are a part of that, what they call a fractal universe, where you can see the parts of the whole and every single part of it, and every, no matter how small you go, no matter how deep you go into it, you can continue to see the replica of the whole structure. This is where we gain our understanding about who we are and what we come to do. We are the thoughts of Allah planted in the soil of soul, where we grew up pace until we gained that body beautiful. And then that demonstrated vibrated even slower till we end up in this plane of manifest. We're talking about different planes of thought, different planes of being. But we are demonstrating them all in a simultaneous existence. And like I said, these are some of the secrets or the truth that ones don't want to expose to the masses. Because if they can keep you locked down and thinking that what you see and hear and taste and touch, all these things that deal with the centuries from the physical plane, if they get you thinking that that's all it is, and you won't, one, be able to truly grow, two, be able to truly use all your faculties, because you're not even going to exercise or strengthen those faculties. When we realize that we are existing in multiple planes at one point, then we got to start looking at ourselves a little bit differently. We got to start looking at our existence and what we're here to do differently. We can jump off that hamster wheel of, I'm just here to work and raise my children until I die, and that's it. And we can get back to trying to attain to the highest that's within us. Making sure that we have peace with everything that is around us, and a peace with ourselves, and therefore being in peace with the Creator. It's very important that we realize that we're going to be here man is going to carry many ages to all the lessons we learned. This is why it's so important that we understand the stars. We understand, these things that keep track of the grand cycle. While we have been so focused on the smaller cycle in 24 hours and 365 days, 12 to 13 months, depending on whether you're doing the moon cycle or sun cycle. Once we, there's a connection in that small cycle to the large cycle, but it's as long as you're focused to one point of the picture, you're never going to see the whole picture. You're never going to see the grand picture of what Allah has for us if one just continues to focus on one aspect. This is what's so important about us as a people, North Americans, not being focused on what we think makes us different, but really on the grand picture of why we're the same and why all these ones who are benefiting off of us want to keep us locked into this a divisive and combative thought pattern when it comes to each other. Because they understand that in our unity, we are so strong that there's no power to resist us. And our unified thoughts, or our thought of love for each other. There's so much power in that, so much force behind that. They have been working tirelessly over the centuries to make sure that we stay separated in that thought pattern, to make sure there's a disconnect from the basic unit, from the biggest unit to the basic unit, from society in a whole, all the way down through our families, and even in the self. But one is so unsure of the self that one has that negative voice within the mind that one is constantly questioning and doubting oneself, that you can't even get together, you can't even bring your heart and your mind together. And that's where the true essence lies. When one's heart and one's mind are at one, and moving as one, it's unstoppable. There's nothing no one can do to stop one whose heart and mind are together. And so that's how we have to move and understand the laws in the heart. As long as when we get our mind in alignment with that, that the nearest place that we can meet our laws in the heart, and in the heart is the divinity of the self. And when we get our mind wrapped around that and in alignment with the divinity of the self and who made us, then there's nothing that can stop us. So it's just been a grand class. Gratitude for the class, Pastor Sister Grand Sheik, and gratitude to you, Morris America, for being here with us and giving us your time and tender respect. We love you. Islam and peace.
And Islam and peace to you as well, Grand Man. We give honors to you for all it is that you do, all it is that you've done, and all it is that you will continue to do. Praise be to Allah, Islamism without the schism. And at this time, we're going to check, because we know our National Grand Secretary of State was on a mission, but we're going to see if she can come forth and give us a grand drawing if she's present and able. Islam.
Close as I thought.
Islam.
Praise Allah. Islam, gratitude, powerful class. Islam, Morishkin. First of all, I want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days and times, giving honor to our Moorish American government, all of our officials, staff, with angels, muftis, divine ministers, most especially our Moorishkin. Giving honor to all those Moors that spoke before me, all those Moors that will speak after me. Giving a special honor to our National Assistant Grand Sheik of Moorish America, Dr. Shedowa Menti El-Mohedji Shep-Suel, for opening our meeting according to law. Also for hosting our Grand Moorish Perspectives class this evening. To our Consul General of Texas, Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay, for taking registration and reading our subject chapter for the week. Our subject matter, the garment that our fathers wore, have given out. The cherubim have woven a celestial cloth, have placed it in our hands, and we must make for men new garbs. Subtitle, The Wheel of Time has turned once more. The race is on a higher plane of thought. This has been such a powerful class this evening. National Assistant Grand Sheik and the Prophet was truly demonstrating the truth when he said that he's going to repeat himself. And repetition is necessary in order for us to unfold into degrees. You brought forth so many powerful degrees, Dr. Shaheed. The thing that stuck out to me is the cycle ages and dealing with the circles. being that same truth, and being able to, in each successive cycle age, receive higher elevation and degree. When we look at our ancestors taught in these sacred schools these same truths. And we see that with each cycle age, man has been on even higher elevated plane of thought. The key that stood out to me that you brought forth was so powerful, especially in reference to one being caught in the past and being slaves to our present concern. That is so powerful, and that's kind of what our National Grand Marquis was touching on in reference to we become so involved in things in the here and now, as opposed to being able to see the entire vision that the prophet brought forth, which is our cyclic journey as well. You know, in the creation and fall, and also rising back to the consciousness that we and our Creator are one. When you was coming, bringing forth how being caught up in the past, or being caught up within mere ideas of man, or being caught up in foolishness and folly, or bestiality state, or caught up in hatred, or what have you, then that enables one to make rash decisions for the generations to come, because one is looking at things from a selfish aspect. One may still be demonstrating from a Negro black colored mindset, or has not fully returned church and Christianity back to the European nations, because it was founded for by their forefathers for their earthly salvation. So we have to recognize when the prophet says, if I could just get you to thinking, you can save yourself. And that brings about a whole new meaning when it comes down to cyclic repetition, and also elevating at the dawn of each new cycle age. When we look at it become our duty and also mandatory to strive for maintaining the high vibrational level. So the prophet and our ancestors have brought us how to unfold into the consciousness of who we are as God, how to be able to solve the fix. But if we have a lackadaisical thought pattern, or are comfortable in where we are at the present time, then sometimes it takes the wrath of the Creator. Sometimes it takes seeing your lives flash before you when you see one sharpened in that demonstration, and you know that you better either demonstrate the degree or recognize the fact that you want to get sucked up in the debris. So when we look at the old garbs, hold on to the flag of Morocco and its fallow state, or cling to what we think that the United States has to offer, when it has clearly stated that, as far as the NBC is concerned, they are stateless, nationless, and as long as we continue in that vein, then we're subject to all the misuses and abuses. So why wouldn't you want to return back to that state of mind of your ancient forefathers and have your own, as we did in ancient days? This is what our prophet brought to us. We give honor to Act 1 for being that representative of triune law, and keeping our prophet out front. So it's up to us to be able to see the value in what it is that the prophet brought to us, and to recognize the sacredness of that scimitar and star coming from ancient days and times. And we know that time never was when man was not. So gratitude more for calling me forth. Much peace and love to all of my Moors, and definitely got to go back with the playback and these degrees that you have brought forth. Gratitude to Act 1. Peace and love.
And gratitude for that grand drawing coming from the tribe of endurance, scribes, goddess and queen, and Grand National Secretary of the State, pardon self. We give honors to you for that grand drawing and all it is that you do. And since we there, man, we talking about one that told us, the prophet say, when the fire come, he was going to be our water. That's a cycle too. And I'm speaking of none other than our Grand National Chairman, Dr. Akanak and Pert M. Heru Tooth to Common Bay. It's on the cover of Exhuming of a Nation. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Islam, you there, grand man? If you're speaking, we can't hear you, Grand National Chairman.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, loud and clear with angelic attending ears. Islam?
Oh, finally got through there? Okay. Oh, man, let me praise to Allah, not to the Prophet of Wali, the last of these days and time that was sent and brought us everything to take to save a nation. I'm just looking at this in the magnanimous chapter with all of them are, though. But I'm looking at this ayat, you know, when about the sons of men and where they're looking up for a greater light, that they no longer look for the cares of God, even out of wood, made of clay. They seek for Allah, not made with hands. And this, so, oh man, it's such a powerful entity when you look at how the prophet brought everything to us. And we was here adhering to the slave master and some of everything else. But now look at us now. Just let you know the power of the civil said we got our own flag, our divine constitution, we got our own bylaws and everything. It's just a magnanimous journey. And the more this is, we love you. Islam is without a skills. I'm pumped up right now. Islam, peace. See you mañana.
And Islam and peace to you as well, Chairman. We give honors to you for that grand drawing, and we definitely, most definitely, will be on the manifest tomorrow. You know, when it comes to our Sunday school class, you know, Allah is leading on and victory is sure. Well, all right. Speaking of Allah leading on and victory being sure, let us call forth, you know, our national grand sheik, Dr. Serapis Amin Rael. Islam, you there, grand man?
Islam.
Islamism.
Praise Allah. This has been a grand presentation. We are going back, remembering that one of our what do you call them? Peacemakers. Peacemakers came to us and said we had a witness on a certain team that unfolded in our private house. And we asked him to go ahead and give us a written scenario of the event so that we'll know what's been discussed. Well, it's a time, and the fact that it was set out to no satisfaction. In other words, what's not really there, they're there. But at the same time, you give one some entertainment to overflow, but not looking at the main portions of it. You know, the Constitution and the form that writes out different things on the Constitution, but brings these things into action. Well, we find out that the first thing one do is he had to tell a lie, or he misuses the truth, or abuses the truth, and it brings things of a nasty level that he has to sort of like give up his due. That's what he did, And we're not going to publicly set this out, but at the same time, if it's done on another recording, then we'll have to go with the grand body to demonstrate these things. But at the same time, we want to let the peace be still, because I know this chief, assistant grand chief, as well as various other grand mufti, set out a cold measure, and that's a good claim that we can charge our mufti to give us strength to bring forth a body of love in this government that is on the manifest on a day-to-day basis. And so we appreciate the love and appreciate the action, swift action of carrying things out in a form, and one being themselves. Praise the Lord. January 15th, 1929, warning from the prophet, read in every meeting. Everybody inform all citizens they must end all radical agitated speech while the work in their homes or on the streets. Wealth and peace is not destructive. Stop flashing your cars in Europeans. Cause confusion. Remember, your car is for your celebration. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We offer love, justice, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice then will take its course. Any citizen, a group of citizens, who hold malicious feelings towards the government or the prophet and violate the divine covenant of the war movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down for them by their prophets. They lose confidence in their prophets. Should turn in their car and bus. These when interpret the faith and return to the state where the prophet found. This is always a divine move founded by the prophet. Number Drew Ali, and the prophet is not right. The government's not right. The prophet therefore says out that his land please to all Moorish Americans that they do their part, protecting prophet and the government. This is an everlasting move founded by the prophet in the will of Allah. Even people for the simple way by all the prophets number Drew Ali. This divine warning is supreme law now and will be enforced by the state government hereby. Islam, Islam, Islam. You are the children of one father. Divided for by his care and rest of one mother has given each other. The bonds reflect and therefore unite thee with thy brothers of peace and happiness that dwell in thy father's house. And when you separate in the world, remember the relation that binds you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger for thy own blood. If thy brothers in adversity, dismiss him, thus took good trouble, respect or not. So tell the fortune of our Father, give it to the support of his whole age and his care, he continue to you up in your love of each other. Islam, Islam, Islam. This meeting is principle coincides to about the land constitution and love, truth, freedom, and justice. Go in peace, more. Much love to Islam. National Assistant Grand Chief, Grand Conference. Again, very proud.
And Islam.
This session is no longer being recorded.
Peace and love to all of you, family. We love you. You know, we love you. And
Love you, Moors.
Moors, no, the prophet brought us everything, and we got it. We ain't waiting on We got it.
Praise
Islam.
the Lord.
You know, want to give honors to our family that checked in as well.
Islam.
You know,
Every
Born
day we
Dog.
need to be free.
That's right. We give honors to our family that checked in social media. Born Dog, Dejon Williams, you know, Gary Miles Bay, Charles Royale, and Brother Dravis Baylock, Tarif Bay, all of y'all family. Keep checking in, tuning in, and let the people know we here. You know, they ready now. Seize the time, Moors. They ready. They ain't got no choice but to look to us. Islam?
Islam.
That's right. Peace and love. See y'all in Sunday school.